On October 1st, 1958, Congress and the President of the United States created the National Aeronautics and Space Administration with the preamble, an act to provide for research into the problems of flight within and outside the Earth's atmosphere and for other purposes. After World War II, the United States and Soviet Union were engaged in the Cold War. The tensions that came from the Cold War created a need for self-defense that ultimately created NASA. Before the birth of NASA, the Department of Defense researched rocketry in an attempt to keep America ahead of the Soviet Union. Eventually, President Dwight D. Eisenhower okayed the order to launch a satellite from July 1st, 1957 to December 31st, 1958. During this 4-month period, the Soviets launched their satellite, Sputnik 1, and people all throughout the U.S. saw this as a second Pearl Harbor. On January 31st, 1958, the United States launched their own satellite called the Explorer 1. Because of this crisis, NASA grew, gaining 8,000 employees and a much larger budget of $100 million. On May 5th, 1961, Alan Shepard was the first man to ever go into space under a project named Project Mercury. 1 year later, John H. Glenn became the first man to ever orbit the Earth under the same project. Project Gemini built upon Project Mercury, building the first two-man spacecraft. On June 3rd, 1965, Edward White became the first person to ever go on a spacewalk. John F. Kennedy announced that a man would be on the moon by the end of the decade on May 25th, 1961. Christmas Day 1968 marked the first orbit of the moon by Apollo 8, and Apollo 7 was the first successful test of an Apollo rocket. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong was the first person to ever set foot on the moon, saying the famous line, "This is one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind." The last Apollo mission, Apollo 17, was a successful engineering and scientific program. On April 12, 1981, NASA demonstrated that it was capable to launch into space vertically using the Space Shuttle STS-1. Sally Ride became the first woman to fly into space under one of these STS programs, and on January 28, 1986, tragedy struck NASA when a fuel tank malfunction caused the first explosion of a manned rocket, killing all 7 crew members inside the Challenger. This tragedy caused the shuttle program to be shut down for 2 years. After this 2-year program, NASA successfully launched 87 shuttles. NASA's programs have taught the people of Earth to view space in a new light, and NASA's programs will hopefully continue for many years to come.
Well, pump, you silly!